Cool. So today, man, we have to give some major love to our special guest, to legendary Wendy Day. If you aren't familiar, I mean, she has worked with some of the biggest artists from Eminem, Tupac, Master P, Cash Money, some of the biggest names. So how are you feeling today, Wendy?
I feel
Yeah.
awesome. I feel awesome. Thank you for asking. It's been a really great day. So I'm happy,
Yeah.
healthy.
Well, cool. Yeah. I
How are you
mean,
today? You doing good?
yeah, definitely.
Good.
I'm happy to have you here because, like I said, I think you are, when it comes to music. I mean, music marketing, music business. I mean, you're one of the you're on like the Mount Rushmore of people uh, that people know, right? People know you've been in the industry for a while, and you're just one of those faces and one of those voices that when people hear you,
Thank
they
you,
know
Mike.
like, hey,
You know what
that's
I think?
somebody.
You know what I think that is? I think that I really love what I do, and I come from the culture of hip hop. Like, I'm not doing this to make money. I'm doing this because I love hip hop and I want to see people win. And I also don't do like anything else. Like, this is it. Like, building careers is what I do. And I think I've gotten really good at it because I just do the same thing over and over and over and over, and it works.
There you have it. I mean,
I'm lucky.
there's, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people will tell you, or a lot of these experts will tell you that if you can do one thing really well and you keep going at it, it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to knock you down, right? Like
Yeah.
you've been through it all. You've been through the struggles. You've seen success. You've seen the struggles.
Yeah.
It's hard to knock you down. So one thing I always wanted to ask you, right? Just
Oh, ask me
as
anything.
someone, yeah, someone who's been watching your content and just learning from you. Um, I feel like when people see you, or when I see you and hear you speak and I see you, you just give off this energy, that this very positive person that
Oh, thank you.
it's like an aura, or maybe it's your voice, or it just seems like you just come off as this really nice person that is positive and that is here to help. Now,
Well,
am I the only one that has told you that, or?
I hear that all the time. When people meet me, either they say, "Man, I feel like I've known you forever," or they'll say, "Your energy is incredible. It's infectious," you know?
Yeah.
I think that I'm a happy person
Mhm.
and I love people and I love human beings. So I really just want everybody to win. I have a little bit of a different outlook than most people. Like, I was raised that we're all in this together. And I think other people have been raised that it's like them against the world, like it's all about
Mm.
them and it's I, not we. And I was raised in the we perspective. So I look at other human beings as like like my brothers and sisters. I don't look at them as people that I have to like step on or beat or, I look at it like it's us against the world more than it's me against everybody. And I
Mm.
think that plays a really big role in it. It's the way I look at life. So I don't see other people as my competition. There's room for everybody. I think money is abundant. I don't think it's scarce. And I also don't pray to it. Like, for me, money's a tool. And there are times when I'm going to have some of it, and there's times where I'm not going to have some of it. And I've
Mm.
gotten very comfortable with that and very comfortable with who I am. And I think that that comes through. And that might be what you're feeling from me, is that I'm just at peace.
So would you say, you're on top of that, are you just naturally very social and you make friends
Oh,
everywhere you go, or no?
no. Oh my God, I'm the opposite. I'm very much an introvert. So when I'm not working, I can be found like taking a long drive to listen to an audiobook, or I can be found like laying on my sofa or in my bed reading. I have a select small circle of friends that I spend time with, but I love being alone. And most of the things that I do, like my hobbies, like art or clay are involved with me being with myself. So because I'm an introvert, if I'm around a lot of people for a long period of time, they drain my energy and I get like,
Mm.
but me spending time by myself is how I recharge. And then once I'm recharged, then I can go back and be around other human beings. But no, I'm not social at all by any means. In fact, this is a
Wow.
very social industry. And because I'm not social, there are people that actually think like I have attitude or I'm kind of stank because I don't really like reach out and hang out with people.
I mean, that's really well put. Like, I could relate to a lot of what you just said about the whole, you can be social when it's time to be social,
Yes.
right? But outside of that, you're probably spending a lot of time alone, figuring yourself out or working on things, improving yourself and stuff like that.
Yes. I do a
Um,
lot of self work. Like like I'm always changing and growing. I do a lot of like self work to be,
yeah,
yes, to be me.
yeah, I totally relate to that, and I'm very similar to that. Like,
Yeah.
the thing you said about the whole when you're out too much or with too many people for too long, like it drains your energy, and you
Dude.
need to like it's time to recoup that energy and let me
Yeah.
go spend some time by myself, right?
Yeah. And you'll see it too, like, cause I feel it. Like when I go to conferences and I'm like at a music conference, like in real life around people, you can start to see my energy drain. I feel like I'm a video game and you can see the battery start to drain or the bar start to drain. And then I'll start to feel like a little cranky and I'll feel it coming. Like I can feel it building and I'll say, if I'm there alone, I'll start to leave. Or if I have my team with me, it's like, okay, it's time to go. Because I'll know that if I don't start moving towards the door, like in an hour, I'll just be really cranky and I'll be standing there like, please let me go. And I'll just be drained and I won't be charming and kind. I'll just be like even keel. Like I won't be smiling. I don't get mean or anything,
Yeah.
but I feel like this, almost like a rag doll.
So yeah, I'm gonna go dive right into
Please.
just the music stuff, right? I want to
Anything you
just
want, I'm
really,
here for you.
yeah, I want to find out from you. You've done a lot for hip hop artists and just the music industry and things like that. So, what made you even step into this position of wanting to help artists to begin with?
Insanity. Yeah, I'm laughing, but I'm serious. In 1980, you weren't even born yet. In 1980, I started listening to rap music. And it wasn't even called rap music. Like that's how early I started listening to it. I was in Philadelphia and I fell in love with the passion and the energy in the music. And I didn't start working in music right away. I didn't really start working in music till 1992. But the reason that I started Rap Coalition, which is a not-for-profit organization. The reason I did that was because I had been hearing stories about my favorite artists being taken advantage of in the music industry. And starting Rap Coalition was like my way of giving back. And I only anticipated doing this for like 3 to 5 years. Like that was my plan. My plan was to start the not-for-profit, do this for 3 to 5 years, and then go back into corporate America to make money. Right. And yeah, 33 years later, I'm still doing it. So I still have the not for profit, but I also have the for profit side of what I do that funds everything we do. And I've always been a give back person. I've always been helpful. I was raised to help other people. It's just kind of who I am at my core. In fact, it is one of my core values. Like one of the top things that I do is help other people, give back. It's when I'm happiest. It's when I feel best about myself. It's just something I always compare. This is kind of fucked up. I always compare it to throwing up. You know how when you have to throw up and you fight it, it's like you can't. And the more you fight it, the more you have to let it out. That's the way helping people is for me. Not, it doesn't make me sick to my stomach, but it's like that feeling where I just have to do it. And then once I do it, I'm fine. It's like, okay, I can help folks and I feel good about myself. I feel good about helping them. It's altruistic. I do it not expecting anything in return. And it just makes me a happy, well-balanced human being. And I've always been that way. So by helping artists, not only do I feel good because I'm helping people, but I'm also helping people that gave so much to me, their music, their art, right?
Yeah.
It's made me so happy, and it's saved me from times of being depressed or frustrated or angry. Like, it's an escape for me. So it's beneficial. Like, I feel like it's a win-win, for lack of a better way to explain it.
So how did you even find your way to, into the music industry to even help some of your favorite artists?
I took a class. I was living in New York City at the time, and I took a class at the New School, which is like a very left-leaning university. And there was a guy teaching the class who was an accountant to the stars. His name was Burt Padell. Burt has since passed. But of course, he was old then, and this was.
I think I heard that name. Like, I think Biggie name dropped that name.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Cash, then Burt Padell in hell is the line.
Yes. Wow.
But he was big. This is before Biggie, but he was Biggie's accountant. He was Puff's accountant. He handled Luther Vandross and Madonna. That would be the equivalent today of like Drake, Ed Sheeran, Kendrick Lamar. Like, he handled the top stars at the time. And as I got to know him better and take this class, he was talking about like my favorite artists that were being unfairly taken advantage of. So I stayed after class one week, and I'm like, well, why isn't anybody helping them? And he's like, well, Wendy, there's no money in altruism. And I was disgusted by that. Like, Mike, I was like, are you serious? Like, it has to be transactional. You have to get a check to help somebody. And I didn't understand, because like, he was telling me situations of people that had made millions of dollars off of an artist. And then when that artist needed help, they wouldn't pick up their phone calls anymore. And I'm like, oh, hell no. So I decided that, like, who better than me to help somebody? And like I said, it wasn't my life plan. My plan was just to help people for like 3 to 5 years, completely change the industry, and then go about my way, not realizing that it wasn't that easy. So I started by pulling artists out of bad deals. And after I did that for about 1.5 years, it was a little bit depressing, because if your dream is to make music, I'm thankful that I could help pull them out of a bad deal, but it's not helping them make music. It's not helping them live their dream. And back in the 90s, when I started, you kind of needed a record label. So it was like, I'm pulling them out of bad deals, but then just leaving them and then going on to help somebody else get out of a bad deal, and then leaving them and then going on to help somebody else. And it just wasn't enough for me. I mean, they never said to me, Wendy, help me, you owe me, you know, but on my side of it was like, okay, so what can I do to be helpful? I pulled this group off of Island Records. They were called the Chameleons. And there was a rapper and a DJ. The rapper's cousin introduced me to a guy named Tobin Costin, who was working with Master P. Tobin was the guy that was running the company for Master P back before Master P blew up. And when I met him, I gave him a lot of game for free, because at that point in time, I was working with a group called Do or Die out of Chicago, and they were blowing up. Do or Die and Twista, they were blowing up and becoming like successful. So I was sharing what we were doing with them to help Tobin, because Tobin, like Master P, was just starting to like sell CDs off of the streets and make money. And then Tobin called me and said, hey, we've got a deal on the table with a bunch of different labels, but Percy really likes Priority. Could you step in and just make sure we're not getting jerked? And I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to do that. Like, and he's like, I don't think we can pay you. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I've never done a deal before, but I had seen so many bad deals that I
Mm-hmm.
knew what shouldn't be in the contract, right? So when I got together with that team, at first they kind of kept me like behind the scenes to like sort of like snitch people out, like tell them what was good and what wasn't. But then when they realized that I had quite a bit of knowledge, because I had been working with so many artists that had been taken advantage of, that I really knew the difference between a bad deal and a good deal.
Yeah.
So when I started telling them, hey, ask for this or ask for that, they're like, okay, come on, help us, like jump in. So we asked for the masters, and Brian Turner, who ran Priority Records at the time, didn't really think that rap was anything more than a fad. I don't think he thought it was going to go as far as it did. So they were happy to let P retain his master. And the rest is history. Like that was a great deal to have as my first deal. So I went on from there and did Twista's deal at Atlantic, which was a joint venture, Eminem's deal, David Banner's deal, the Cash Money deal, Trouble's deal. Like there's so many deals that came after Master P's deal and put me like in the loop of being able to do deals.
So first of all, were you already listening to Master P's music or at that
Yes.
time? So
Yes.
you were already into his music. You were
Yes.
more or less a fan. But how did that feel like to be able to?
Fan. I wouldn't say a fan. He put together, and no disrespect to him, but I was into lyrics. Like my favorite rappers back then were Razkaz, right? And Hieroglyphics and Tribe Called Quest. So my taste in music was very KRS-One, Public Enemy. It was very lyrical, and Master P was not lyrical. Master P was built based on fantasy, like what the streets were like and what it was like to sell kilos of cocaine, which I knew nothing about. So for me, it was like a movie. It was like an action film, but set to great beats by the pound beats. When I first learned about him, he was doing Down South Hustlers and West Coast Bad Boys. He was doing compilation albums of whoever were the hottest artists on the streets at the time. And that's what I bought into. Like he had K on stuff. He had Too Short. Like he was working with people that I was listening to and people that I really respected. Not to say his music was bad. It wasn't. It was just different for back then. It was like he kind of changed what rap was becoming, what was selling. He came in at the beginning of that gangster rap era, you know, with like NWA and you know, the whole Dr. Dre sound that was coming through, you know, the whole Above the Law sound that was coming through. It was mostly like sampled funk beats, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I definitely grew up on some Master P for sure, especially because when I started listening, he started working with the Bay Area artists, right? That's that West Coast Bad Boy compilation, all that stuff. So I grew up on the Bay Area music, and then he kind of came into the picture, and I was like, wow, who's this?
In Richmond.
Yeah. Yep. So that's how I yeah. So when it came to these negotiations, was it like a real-time negotiation? Like where you're sitting across the table with the person, or is
I was
it
on
just
the phone? They brought me in by phone back then because I was in New York and they were in Los Angeles. So it was all like on Tobin's cell phone.
So were you actually?
There were so many people involved.
Okay.
Like it wasn't like the great thing about the Cash Money deal is it was me and Peter Thea. There were two of us that did that deal. And I knew Peter. Peter was my attorney. So I knew Peter really, really well. And I knew like what it meant when he sat back. I knew what it meant when he sat forward. Like I knew him, you know, so it made it so easy to do their deal. But with the Master P deal, it was challenging because I wasn't in the room. I didn't really know who anybody was. There was EA Ski and his manager, John, were doing the bulk of the negotiations. And when they brought me in, they were worried, and rightfully so. They were worried that that EA Ski, because he was signed to Priority, might be more favorable to Priority to benefit himself than he was to Master P. And they were not. Like they actually did a great job. Like John and Ski were amazing, just amazing as human beings. And I take nothing away from them at all. You know, thank God for them. But it was interesting to be like one of so many people. There were like 10 people involved in that deal. And like I'm on the phone, so I don't really know it's like, okay, who's that talking? Who's that? And then finally I just like gave up trying to figure it all out. And I'm like, okay, let's just go for what's best. And then I started looking at the paperwork and coming back to Tobin and saying to him, okay, here's what we need to ask for, because it was too frenetic to have everybody on the phone. It was really difficult. It was a very hard deal to do because it was just too many. Like, I think that the old adage that my grandmother used to say was too many chefs in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I think that's what, or too many chiefs in the kitchen. And that's what it was. It was just too many chefs in the kitchen.
So would you say you were actually negotiating that deal, or you were kind of assisting?
I was one of many. I was assisting. It wasn't my deal by any means. Yeah.
So
it was also my first deal. I wasn't that aggressive with it.
Right. So because that was your first deal, right? So you were kind of getting your feet wet. And so what was the A deal that you helped with that you felt like where you really took charge?
The next one.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, the next one, which was Twista. And I'm so glad, like the Master P experience was frustrating for me, because it's like when I said we need to ask for the masters, everybody's like, no, we'll never get that. And it's like, well, let's try. And they're like, no, no, we'll piss them off. We don't want to piss them off in the deal. And that was a little bit of my hubris too, because I didn't know any better. I had never done a deal. So it's sort of like when you don't know, you go for broke because you don't know, right? Yep. And with Twista, his deal came out of that frustration. So it was me, it was the guy who owned the label. His name was Lucky. And it was the attorneys, which was Andy Tavel and Peter Thea. And it was so much easier to do that deal. First of all, because Lucky knew me and he trusted me. We had spent time together. I was physically going back and forth to Chicago. I helped them put music into the marketplace. I helped them make Do or Die platinum recording artists. So there was a relationship there that I didn't have in the Master P deal, because really I was just helping Tobin, right? I was just some annoying chick from New York that, and from their point of view, they probably thought that I was a know-it-all and was telling them what to do. But in reality, when I got to the next deal, I already knew so much. Like I had reached out to both E40 and Too Short when we were working with Twista to find out what their deals were at Jive. And their teams were so kind because they shared with me what the deals were. So I knew, okay, we want this or better, because I knew we were at a point where we had enough leverage to get this or better, and I'm hugely thankful for them for being so open and sharing, because they didn't have to do that. And that's also one of the reasons why I'm so open and sharing. Like you hear me talk a lot about what people's deals are. And sometimes the artists get upset because it's like, yo, why are you putting my business out there? And it's like, it comes back to that we mentality. Like it's about all artists. Like we want the artist to win. We don't want just one artist to have a great deal and then everybody else to be taken advantage of, because then the art form won't grow.
So after the Twista deal, was that when things really started rolling for you? Like,
yes, because Master P hadn't blown up yet. So even though I had done his deal, he hadn't really come all the way across to New York yet. So now I'm doing the Twista deal. And to put it into perspective, after I did Master P's deal, I was very close to some of the journalists at the Source magazine. This industry is like this big, right?
Yeah.
So I was close to some of the writers, and they're like, so what are you working on? What's new? And I'm like, yo, we just did this ownership deal where this guy got an advance of, $600,000 and he has complete ownership of his masters. And they're like, okay, what else? And I think about that now and it's like, what do you mean, what else? Like, that's huge, but back then they were like, whatever. Yeah, Master P,
Yeah.
The sound was so different. They're like, yeah, he's not going to blow up because New York, right?
Yep.
It was just crazy. So I got more accolades for Twista, which was a 50-50 joint venture, than I did for Master P, which was like an 80-20 or an 85-15 split and complete ownership of the master. So it's like, okay, this industry doesn't make sense. I'll just keep going and doing what I do. And that's kind of what I do. I just put blinders on and I just do the work. Like I don't really pay attention to the accolades. I don't really pay, you know this because you know me pretty well. Like I don't pay attention to social media. I just care about artists winning and I care about people in the music industry being able to do this without banging their heads. Like I want you to know everything I know so that you can be better than me. I want you to be like Wendy 2.0 or Wendy 3.0 or Wendy 4.0. Yeah. I don't want you to have to make the same mistakes I did. Like, what sense does that make?
Yeah. So by this time where your things are starting to roll, you're getting more people interested in working with you and getting your help, right?
Yes.
Where people,
and I've got labels coming to me now. Like labels are seeing that I've got my finger on the pulse of what's happening. So labels are coming to me and they're offering me jobs, which I never took or wanted. Like they were kind of the enemy to me, not the enemy because I was doing deals with them, but I didn't want to be inside the belly of the beast. I wanted to work with artists who were bubbling on the streets or buzzing on the streets and help them get to the next level so that when they did go get a deal, they could do like an ownership 80-20 split, like Cash Money or like, you know, Master P. Like that was my goal. My goal wasn't just to do record deals and get somebody signed to a label because the goal is success, right? You want to be successful in music. Getting a record deal was just a step towards that. And it's not even a step anymore. Like now you can or you can't. Like you can do this independently. And all of my clients now are doing this independently.
Yeah. So as a woman in the business, did you go through any, you know, crazy challenges or any kind of, you know, I'm assuming yes, but
yes.
You know, yes, but maybe is there anything that comes to mind? Any key moments or issues that arise?
Yes, there were many times where I would give somebody advice, and there was a time where I remember being in a room with Method Man, and I loved Method Man. Like this is the height of his success. And I remember we were in a studio somewhere, and we were giving advice to like an up and coming artist, and they were hanging on every word that he was saying, right? And we were in the studio, and the person said, "Can you give me some advice?" And they were talking to me and him. And I said, "Yes, you should put your music out independently and sell as many CDs as you can. And then the labels will come to you." And it's like I said nothing. And they were like looking at Meth, like, "Can you give, you know, please give us some advice?" And Meth was like, "Yeah, you know, hone your craft, get really good at what you do." And then I'm leaning over a little towards him, like, and don't forget, you can put out music yourself and blow it up, and then you're going to get a better deal because now you have leverage. And then, you know, he's talking about, you know, go out and touch the people, and you know, it's like being it's like running like a politician. You want to kiss babies and touch people and build your career. And I'm like, yeah, and don't forget, put out music. And now it's getting funny to me because I'm saying the same thing. And I ended up saying it like 4 times, and then Meth caught on, and he's like, "But really, the best thing you can do is put your music out into the marketplace and work it, and then it'll give you leverage so that somebody like Wendy can go and get you a deal." And they're like, "Oh, brilliant. Oh. And I'm like, I just said it like 4 fucking times. Like, God damn. And I realized that fame is a drug, especially, you know, well, today too. Clout is more of a drug today than fame. Like pretend fame is even a drug today. But I realized that I could say something 50 times and people won't hear it. But if somebody famous says it, then all of a sudden it's like law. It's like, right. So I learned at that point in time to set up a board of advisors, and Tupac was actually my first advisor on the board. It was his idea. And he's like, "Okay, you know what? If you really want people to take you seriously. First of all, you're female. Second of all, you're white. So you've got two strikes against you. There were not a lot of women in the music business back then, and there were not a lot of white folks in the music business back then. So it was like, if you want to be taken seriously, you need to be co-signed by people that are more famous than you, and people that were where people are looking at them like, oh, they're bigger, like they know what they're talking about because they're so successful. And for me, I was never trying to get rich in the music business. So it wasn't like I was going to build myself to be a millionaire so that people would listen. I wasn't trying to be Puffy. I wasn't trying to be Suge Knight. I was trying to get deals for artists that were fair and equitable. That's what I was trying to do. And I did that, like, hooray. Like, my career has been very successful, provided that's how you measure it. If you measure it by whoever has the most millions, I'm not even close, but that doesn't really matter to me. I know that sounds crazy, but that doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is making a difference out here and helping people build generational wealth for themselves and their families.
Got you. So what would you say is a fair deal in 2025? Like for artists who are still either wanting to get signed or are doing well independently, but they're hitting a certain wall, right? They want to say, hey, I want to be a global star or whatever. They want to get signed, right?
Yeah. Right. Or I don't have enough money, because the money comes slowly and in increments, right? It's not like you're getting checks for $5 million at a time when you're independent. Whereas when you sign to a label, they might cut a check for $5 million to you. So, it's just different. It's different financials, right? And a fair deal in 2025 would be, it's really kind of the same. It's where you can keep as much ownership as possible and have as little debt as possible, meaning recoupable. So if you're getting an advance from a label and some of the money is recoupable and some is not, that's a much better deal than if it's all recoupable. So you've got to kind of learn what's fair and acceptable. And if I can learn, anybody can learn. I'm not smarter than anybody. I'm not sharper than anybody. If I can do this, anybody can do this. So the key is just to learn and be driven by what's fair and acceptable and what's going to build success, not driven by what builds fame and popularity. Because the labels know that. The labels know, okay, I can trick this artist by promising to make them famous, and then we can make the lion's share of the money because we don't care about fame. Because fame does not always equal money, and money does not always equal fame. There's a lot of famous people out here that are broke. A lot.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, what's one thing that you wish more artists understood from the beginning of
Can I pick
their journey? Of course.
Okay. Thank you. Because these are always neck and neck, and I can never decide which one is more important. Yeah. But number one is learn the business. It's kind of what I was just referencing. Yeah. You really have to learn how this works. Just like you wouldn't step on an NBA court not knowing how to play the game or the rules of the game or how to dribble a basketball or who the other players are. You got to really know what you're getting into before you step on the court. And then the second thing is have a lawyer. Like, even at the amazing deals that I've done, and I've been doing this for 33 years, I still have a lawyer with me in every negotiation because they know what all the new deals are. They know what nuances are changing. They know where other people have been taken advantage of and what to fortify in a contract. So having an entertainment attorney that has experience in doing the type of deal that you want to do. So what I mean by that is if you're doing an artist deal, but your attorney's only ever done a distribution deal, you're fucked. If you're trying to do a distribution deal and they've only done producer agreements, you're fucked. You need a powerful entertainment attorney that has experience and is working for you, not working for the record label in in helping you to negotiate your deal, and somebody that is going to explain everything to you as you go. And that's really key, because you want to know not just what the deal is, but why. Why were you able to get this, but not that?
So that being said, would you say when you're let's say you have to go look for a new entertainment lawyer, right? Or you're advising another artist to go hire somebody. I mean, it sounds like you kind of know the ins and outs and what you're looking for when you're
I do.
looking for a good
I do.
entertainment attorney, right? What would
Yes.
you say? What would you say is like the number one thing? Is it experience?
Experience.
Like
Yeah, experience. Experience matters more to me than anything. It matters more than their price. It matters more than who they've worked with. Because there have been some brand new attorneys that Forrest Gump their way into working with a brand new artist that, catapults to success. And it doesn't mean that they had a great attorney because they're famous. It just means somebody caught them early and latched on, you know? So I always look for the folks out here that have done deals before. I want somebody that's done deals recently, like within the past six to 9 months. I want somebody that is communicative and responds to phone calls, responds to emails quickly. But most importantly, I want them to explain to us why we're getting certain things or not getting other things, and understand that my deals are all highly leveraged. Like, if you came to me today and you never put music into the marketplace and you said, shop me a deal, I can't get you a deal, because my deals are all artists that are building fan bases and have proof of concept. They've taken the risk out of a label signing them. It's more than just saying, yeah, I'm the most talented motherfucker out here. No, we have proof that this is a talented person and that the fans are embracing them because they're bubbling, they're buzzing, they're making money already. So I want an attorney that's going to explain the deal, understand that we have a lot of leverage, and help us succeed, not just do like what they think is right. Because I'm always asking for crazy shit in my deals, always. And I get it. I get crazy stuff, not everything. The one thing I haven't been able to get in any deal yet is creative control. We had it a little bit with David Banner because Steve Rifkin trusted Banner's ear. But other than Banner, like, I tried to get it with every deal I've ever done and couldn't get creative control. Even with Cash Money, like, Universal had the right to pass if they didn't want to put an album into the marketplace. They never did, but they had the right to say, no, we'll put the next one out. But then I also made sure Cash Money had the right to be able to take anything they passed on and bring it to another major label like Sony or Warner Brothers or Atlantic or whoever.
And when you say creative control, that typically just means who has the final word on what gets released, right?
Correct. That's really hard to get.
Damn. I thought it was a little bit more lenient, but I guess it makes sense.
Money. When I negotiate a deal, I negotiate it like to high as possible. And then I start trading back the money. Like, oh, okay, instead of giving us $6 million, give us $4 million and creative control. Nope. They'd rather give us more money than creative control.
Wow.
But I've given up money for masters. Like, okay, you want to give us $6 million? We'll take 4 plus ownership of the masters. Okay, we'll do that deal. Or no, we're not willing to do that deal. Okay, what would you be willing? 3 million in the masters. Done.
Why do you think the labels value creative control so much? Is it because they have these people who are doing the research behind the scenes that they just know these things, the stats and stuff? So they know how to make.
Stats. I think they're also afraid of artists losing their minds and putting out music. Like, imagine if Kanye made the album that he really wanted to make when he was first like talking like, anti-Semitic stuff. Imagine him putting out an album that was anti-Semitic and Def Jam having to release that because it was in the contract.
That's a great
I
point.
think that's why.
Such a great point.
I think they're afraid of, and in fairness, they're putting up the money, like they're investing in it. Shouldn't they have some say as to what they're spending money on? Because what if you delivered an album of you just burping or farting, for 12 songs, right? Like that would be horrendous. And if you have creative control, you could do that. And they would have to put up the money, because in the deals that I do, I make sure that there's a budget for marketing and promotion. So I'm kind of forcing them to spend money. So I kind of understand why they'd say, you know what? Yeah, we're not going to agree to that. I get it.
Yeah, I think the way you explained it, it makes a lot of sense, because it's kind of like, it's partially saving the artist for themselves in a way, right? Creatively, and then making sure they have the power to make the best business decision for the release, more or less.
Yes. And I'm from that school of thought, Mike. I believe that most artists can make good business decisions, not all of them.
Right.
But I think that artists since the 90s have become very entrepreneurial. Mm-hmm. And I think that if you teach them business concepts, they get it. Like all of my clients are savvy. They're all entrepreneurs, And there was this mentality in the early 90s when I first started that, oh, that's just an artist. They don't get it. But they really do. You just have to explain it so that they can understand it. And it's not that hard. Like this is not rocket science. I'm not asking them to do open heart surgery. Yeah. I'm asking them to put music out into the marketplace and understand that if you put out music people want, they'll buy it. If people don't want it, they won't. It's really that simple. It's basic economics. And most people can wrap their head around that. But a lot of labels have thought, oh, artists don't really understand. They're artsy.
Yeah. No, I
agree.
I understand exactly what you're saying. And I think what it is, being an artist myself and also heavy into the business side of things, I think partially a lot of artists, I think, aren't confident in their business decision making skills. Like they might understand the concept, right? But if they don't have the experience and the reps, right, they're not going to be too confident about that decision.
Agreed. I wasn't making process when I started making decisions. Yeah. I'm fortunate. I got an MBA. I went to business school, so that's where I was able to sort of test it. Like, okay, I'm going to say that this is how economics works, and then I pass a test, and it's like, oh, whew, I was right. Artists didn't have that luxury because they may not have taken a class in economics, but if I can break it down for them, like how economics works using weed as an example, right? That's the easiest one to understand.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's how it works. Okay. And then you can apply that idea to music. Like, oh, if people want more of my music, they'll spend more money. If they don't, they won't. It's not difficult, but a lot of people don't think that artists have business minds. And then there's also people that think that artists are just too emotional to make business decisions, And as a female, I've heard that my whole life. I've heard people say to me, oh, Wendy, you're female, you're emotional, you're not going to be good at business. And it's like, okay, I run 7 companies today. None of them have gone bankrupt. Maybe I can separate my emotions from business. I don't know.
There you go. So all the deals that you've made through your, in your career so far, it's a 2-part question, right? What's like in terms of value and money? What was the biggest deal?
Cash money. And then what was the second question? And I'll go into detail.
Yeah. Second one would be, I guess, who's the favorite artist that you've gotten to work with?
I don't know that I had a favorite artist, but because everybody that I'm working with at the time becomes my favorite. Like I like them better than the last one. It's sort of like as you learn to cook, your food gets better and better. So your last meal was always your favorite. As an
Yeah.
artist, you probably feel that about songs like, oh man, this song is so much better than the one I made 6 months ago because you just get better. So
Mm.
I feel like everybody's my favorite, but David Banner's deal was my favorite deal to do because he had been in a deal with Tommy Boy Records with Penalty and Tommy Boy, Penalty / Tommy Boy, that didn't go very well because they didn't understand Southern music. And he was frustrated. So when we were doing his solo deal at Steve Rifkin and Company, which was Universal, he was very nervous. He was gun shy. So I thought that it would make sense that he should be able to put out music independently in between his releases at Universal. And they agreed to it. And we traded money for that. Remember how I was saying earlier,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to bid the deal up and now I'm going to come back down. Hey, we'll take $1 million less, but he gets to put out his music independently. And Steve Rifkin is like, okay, I love that. Like Steve Rifkin was by far the easiest label guy that I ever dealt with because he understood artist needs and he understood people being nervous and he understood that he was going to make money regardless. So he didn't need to make all the money. He wanted to share the money with people, you know? And that was by far my favorite deal. The Cash Money deal, because they had put out 31 CDs. It was CDs back then. They had put out 31 albums over a 6-year period successfully that we had a lot of leverage. And when I started working with them, the first deal was for Juvenile alone for 75,000, and we passed on it because we knew we could do better. They were making way more than 75,000 in a month, let alone off of one artist. And Juvie was the biggest artist at the time. So we knew that deal didn't make sense. But we started putting out CDs. And when I started working with them, the most they had ever sold of those 31 releases was 25,000 units. And that was BG because they weren't working them long enough and in a big enough area. So they were just selling CDs in New Orleans, well, Louisiana and Texas, basically, from New Orleans to Houston. That's where they were really making money, right? And then they would be happy with that and put out the next one. So every a few months they were dropping music, which is the smart thing to do. It still is today. And they were flooding the market, but they weren't going long enough or deep enough to get the numbers up. So the first album that I helped them put out hit 75,000 within the first couple of weeks. And then it got to 150,000 by the time Universal was calling us saying, okay, we no longer think your deal is crazy. We're going to talk to you now. Because their first reaction when I sent them a proposal and Peter Thea wrote it, they called Peter Thea and cursed him out. Like, what the fuck what are you talking about? A multi-million-dollar deal? You're crazy. and Peter's calling me like, damn, I just got yelled at. And I'm like, Peter, I promise you it's not crazy. Like, I'm on the streets. I see what people are like. Now it's growing, right? It's not just Louisiana and Texas. Now it's gone all the way to Jacksonville. It's gone up into Memphis. It's gone up into Chicago. It's going up into Detroit. It's going over into North and South Carolina. Atlanta knows who Cash Money are. I'm like, it's growing. Like don't worry, we got this. Like, do nothing. Like, just let them yell at you. Fine. They're going to call us back in about 6 months and want us. Dude, it was less than 30 days. They had to call Peter like, okay, maybe your offer isn't crazy. They were like that. And we were like, excuse me? We didn't hear the apology.
So you did multiple deals for Cash Money?
No, it was one deal. I just didn't do it fast. It took 9 months. When we weren't getting the offers that made sense, they let me say no. The secret of their success, honestly, is they let me say no many times. They just kept saying, no, that's not enough. No, that's not enough. No, that's not enough.
That's great. So they knew their worth. They knew their value, right? So
yeah. And by the way, that's a really hard thing to do. Like, kudos to them, because when somebody is offering you millions of dollars, like, if I came to you tomorrow and offered you $2 million for your podcast, it would probably be really hard for you to tell me, no, Wendy, I'm worth more. I'll bet you'd have a really hard time saying no because you'd be afraid, well, what if this is my last chance? Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, they were on the streets too, and they knew the buzz and they knew what was coming. And at that point in time, they had Soulja Slim, they had Miss T, they had so many artists coming. They had Wayne and BG, like they had the super group, the Hot Boys. They knew what it was, big timers. They knew what they had. So when I was telling them, guys, I think we can do better, they were like, okay, let's listen to her. She might know what she's talking about. And I'm really thankful that they did because they didn't have to. They could have been like, fuck you. We're doing that deal.
So would you say they just had a business savvy group of people on their end also? That was just like,
yes. And they trusted me.
Yeah.
And not everybody does. Not everybody trusts other human beings. I felt like I had proven my worth to them. I felt like they knew who I was and understood me. And I'm very trustworthy. I can't find anybody to say, wow, Wendy's really fucked me over. I don't know anybody that's ever said that.
Got you. Were you working directly with like Birdman and
yes. Baby and Slim? Yes.
Wow. So were they just like serious business guys when they're dealing with you, or
they were guys that had a dream. They were just guys that had a dream. They were making money on the streets. So they were making money. They were selling CDs because remember they had put out 31 CDs over 6 years before I met them. I didn't meet them until 97. Mm-hmm. So they started putting out music in 91.
Oh, so when it was all said and done, that Cash Money deal, what was the, I guess,
$30 million. And it was an 80-20 split. It's now 85-15 as far as I know, but the deal we did was 80-20.
Damn.
Yep.
So that was the deal that really changed things up for you as well. Once people learned about that at some point, they would say like, wow,
Yeah, I got a lot of notoriety from that deal. There were articles in like New York Times, Chicago Tribune, like major newspapers talking about that deal. At that point in time, it was the best deal in the history of Black music. So people were writing about it, absolutely. But it didn't change my life. It's not like I moved into a glass apartment in New York, because it wasn't my deal. It was their deal, right? They were the ones really that made the money.
But you weren't working for free still at this time, right?
I was not working for free.
Okay. That's good. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So, you've worked with a lot of people's favorite artists, right? Global mega stars, right? So
and a lot of my own favorite. Don't forget that. I love these guys too. Yeah.
Right. So I was curious, any crazy stories with, just experiences with some of these big major artists that, Tupac. That everyone loves?
Tupac. Yeah. Tupac, working with Tupac I didn't do a deal for him. He died when I was in the midst of shopping his deal. Mm-hmm. So I don't have he's my favorite deal that I did story, but he was probably my favorite human as a rapper. Like he was probably the artist that I was most excited about. And had he lived, I probably would have gone into his company and worked with him because I liked him much and we got along that well. His situation was crazy because the media were really like portraying him as the guy who started the East Coast, West Coast beef, the war. And it really was a war, like bodies were dropping. It was real.
Yeah.
And that was very crazy because for me, it was surreal. It didn't feel real. Like I was still operating. I wasn't wearing a bulletproof vest. I wasn't being careful where I was going. I wasn't strapped everywhere I went. I had no security. It was just like business as usual. And I think back on that now and I'm like, was I a little crazy? Like the fuck? because people were getting shot and killed all the
Yeah.
time. And I wasn't afraid to be with him. I wasn't afraid to be around him. I wasn't, you know, I didn't really think about it. And that was just nuts. Like I think back on it now, like, whew. So that's probably the craziest type of stories that I had. Like Dog Pound came to Brooklyn to shoot a video, and there were guys in Brooklyn that found that disrespectful and they shot him up. You know,
Yeah, I remember.
Tupac
I
got
heard that
shot and
story.
killed. Biggie got shot and killed in retaliation. So, like, like that shit was real. You know, I don't think it gets crazier than that. I was working with an artist in 2018. His name was Fulio. And Fulio was very incendiary on the internet. And I did not think he was a gangster in real life, but he sure was playing one pretty hard
Mm.
on the internet. And he wanted the fame. And I worked with him for a little over a year. And I'm like, dude, either you need to chill out and stop dissing people, or I'm going to move on. And he's like, I've got, I've got 1 million followers, Wendy, on Instagram. I'm like, yeah, but you're not really making any money yet. Like, let's put out music. Like, dude, you're a great rapper. You don't have to be taking credit for shooting people that you never shot. Like, you're not about this life. Like, why are you doing this? And I remember in the 8th or 9th month that I was working with him, his mom got shot 7 times because
Wow.
they couldn't get to him. So they caught his mom coming out of her condo in Jacksonville and lit her up. And she had to like learn how to rewalk all over again. And I'm like, this was in September. I stopped working with him in January. So I'm like, dude, like I've already lived through this once. I'm not trying to live through this again. Like there's nothing you can pay me that's worth this. And he would be like, okay, I'm going to chill out. And he would calm down for a while. And then he wouldn't be getting like enough attention on social media. And he would start it back up again. He'd put out a diss song or he'd start talking about people. And then finally I'm like, okay, I'm out. Like, dude, I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. If this is the life you choose, it's not a matter of if you're going to die, it's a matter of when. Amazingly, he lasted another 5 years, which was a blessing because that's 5 more years of music and his mom getting to spend time with him. And, he I don't think he ever had children, but he was able to like have relationships and do things that like a normal 21-year-old or 22-year-old or 23-year-old would get to do. Sadly, he died on his 26th birthday or 20, I can't remember, but he died on his birthday in Tampa. Somebody finally caught him. And for us, it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. It was like obvious that was coming. And that kind of stuff like makes me sad,
Yeah.
because he was so talented. And he was actually really a good kid. Like I met him when he was 19. I'm one of the first people that ever put him in a studio. It was actually his Prince Patron, his manager at the time, that put him in a studio in Jacksonville. But like, I got to help put out his first music and I got to help him like grow as an artist, like all the things that I want to do. Like, I got to introduce him to Zaytoven, who did a whole album for him. And Zaytoven was like super hot at that point in time. We got to do some really cool shit. And to me, that's what this is about. This isn't about using your platform to talk shit about another human being. Like, why would you do that? What's the upside to that? Attention? No, I'm sorry. Attention's not worth it. Bad attention leads to nothing. Good attention leads to, being able to build generational wealth so that your children's 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 children can still be rich. That's the goal.
Yeah.
The goal isn't to diss somebody so that you can feel better about yourself and make them feel shitty. I don't get that.
Yeah, I hear you, and I'm hoping that the whole dissing for clout era is dying down. Hopefully, because I mean, we all know that's been happening for maybe the last 10 years, probably. Do anything for clout. Yeah. So, yeah, hopefully that era is done. And Yeah. So I wanted to close this out and just ask you to tell us more about your inner circle.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I
Like I
love
said,
that.
like I said, I'm part of the inner circle, and I've been,
And thank you for coming.
and I love what you're doing, and just the conversations we have, and the Q&As and things like that. So yeah, why don't you,
Thank you.
let the people know what the inner circle is and
I
what your
will.
mission. Yep.
Yeah. So my whole career, like I said, I've been doing this for 33 years, and it's it's really expensive to hire me. I'm not even going to lie and make it make you think it's not. I'm
Yeah.
really expensive, and I'm great at what I do, so I should be expensive, right? But my whole career, I've heard people say, Wendy, this isn't fair. Like, we want access to you and we can't afford you. We don't have the money. It's not fair. And my counter has always been, well, I can't do this for less than 150. I can't do this without a budget to market and promote. And then I've got a staff of 5 people to feed. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I need to make enough money to like feed everybody. And I'm not a multimillionaire by any means. That's not my goal. But if I were, I would have the right to do that because I'm good at what I do, right? I should be
Mm-hmm.
able to charge 50 times what I charge if I want. But the reality is, I finally heard people, and I'm at an age now where I'm at the end of my career. I'm winding down. So I wanted to do something where I could impact more people at a price point that they could afford, but that wouldn't be putting me into debt or into the poorhouse, in order to help them. And this is what my team came up with. And I think it's beautiful. So for a monthly fee, somebody can join my community. I go live every other Wednesday night, as you know,
Yep.
and I put a ton of like free videos. You guys get all of my interviews. I have 2 podcasts now. You get all of my access to my podcast a week early before everybody else. You're finding out what I'm working on before everybody else is. And to me, that matters. It's like, you're my inner circle. You're like my family. And I've been helping you guys, one-on-one and as a group. Like in October, we all wrote a business plan because the one thing that everybody needs is funding. So there were, I think there were 67 members at that time. 6 people wrote business plans. And I was dumbfounded by that because I'm like, wow, only 6 people out of 67? Like, nobody else needs money. So I doubled down and I said, you know what? You 6 people send me your business plans and I will go over them and I will critique them and I will help you build it out and get to the next level. And I did that with all 6. And then there was a 7th person that found out I was doing that and they jumped on the bandwagon, which was kind of funny. So I helped him with his business plan as well. And I'm like, I'm just going to keep giving as much value as I can to these folks who put in the work and watch my videos and ask questions and come to the lives and really want to excel. And you see what we do. Like,
Yep.
if there's somebody that I can introduce you to that can help you get to the next level, I'm there for it. Like, that's what Inner Circle's about. It's about mentorship and it's about sharing my circle with you guys and helping you guys get to the next level. And we all win. Like, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Oh, that's a nice way to close things out. So, yeah, I mean, you guys definitely go check out Wendy's Inner Circle.
It's wendydayinnercircle.com.
There you go. And your Instagram is
At Rap Coalition.
cool.
And then could you also talk about my YouTube? My YouTube has a ton of free videos because I always want to make sure that people that can't afford me or even Inner Circle, because let's face it, that's money every month. Not everybody has money every month. So there's a ton of free videos at youtube.com/this is Wendy Day. There's like 200 free videos there.
Yeah. And I'll vouch for that because I browse YouTube and I'm watching, I've seen a lot. That's how I learned about you is initially,
I'm so glad.
Yeah, initially through YouTube, right? Because
I love that. I have a ton of how-to videos.
Yeah, I'm just like a person who does my research on YouTube, watching other music marketers talk about things, and I came across you, and I was like, wow,
Love that.
who's this? And then it just kind of snowballed
Thank you.
into more videos and realizing that, wow, your background is, just crazy. Your background is so historical.
I'm so fortunate. Thank you. I love what I do, so it's easy. Just like you love what you do. Like, keep going because you're going to be huge. I see it.
Wow, appreciate that.
Look, if you're serious about taking your music career to the next level, you really need to work with an experienced team that has gotten real results for real artists. At Best of the Next, we've helped hundreds of artists gain new listeners, new fans, and even generate income from selling music plus merch directly to their supporters. So if you want to learn more, visit us at bestofthenext.com today.